Here we go. It is Jacob Warren. I'm Dave Hooker, and you can certainly like, subscribe, and share. We greatly appreciate that. And Jacob, always nice enough to join us each and every Saturday. It's the Vol Report brought to you by Bassey Lawn and Garden, Man Alive. It is worth the drive. And Jacob, this is the first time we've spoken after a loss, which says a
Yeah.
lot about what you guys have done this season. So kudos. And one game does not a season make, nor does it define a career. But let's look back, if we can, at Georgia
Yeah.
and your thoughts about what went wrong early, especially.
Yeah. Early, just poor execution on the offensive side of the ball specifically, but I think that's where I'm able to speak on just because that's what I do, right? That's the side of the ball I'm on. So, um, yeah, just obviously we kick two field goals, right? And I'm a big proponent of you can't win a game by kicking field goals, right? But I understand that there's times where things just didn't work out, or like I said, poor execution, and you settle for points. And Chase did a great job all night of giving us confidence that we can kick those, and we can make those and get points on the board, and just try to get our offense rolling. And unfortunately, it just never seemed to do that. We just a lot of self-inflicted things as far as penalties and um, missed assignments, wrong alignments, and people not getting the calls, or whatever it may be. And at the end of the day, Georgia has a good team too, right? Like they're top one of the top teams in the country, and so you mix those two things, and it's just could end up being a bad day for you, and that's what it was for us. So
Well, it happens. The execution end of it, there was a lot of talk in Knoxville. I don't know how much you hear about, is Sanford Stadium loud compared to other stadiums and all that sort of stuff. And there was even a talk show host that went back and forth with somebody in Athens about the other stadiums were louder, wasn't close to Neyland. Was the crowd louder than maybe you expected or recalled? Was that a factor?
I mean, yeah, definitely louder than we expected. I think just because we've played a lot at home, and we hear that environment. It's not like it doesn't quite necessarily seem as loud as Neyland, but that's because Neyland is never loud whenever I'm on the field, right? It's always
Right.
quiet, and so it's a little bit different whenever you're on the sidelines, and get some energy from it. But yeah, it just causes problems, as far as being able to communicate, and being able to hear the cadence, or the clap, or whatever it may be. And going into it, we knew it would be loud, and we knew that was the case. And we're pumping crowd noise and music during practice during the week. And yeah, you just get to the game and wish that you could, you could have those few plays back where someone's just not locked in, and maybe just not watching the ball, or gets a little antsy on third down, whatever it may be. And yeah, you just wish you could have those back, and understand that nothing really matters other than just focusing on the little details of watching the ball, of understanding that the quarterback's gonna take a little bit more time because he's trying to read a defense, or whatever it may be, just things like that.
Does it make things almost frenetic? I mean, when it's like that and the crowd does become a factor, does it make things more complicated and kind of compound itself over time?
Over time, I think, especially, and I mean, they did a good job. Their crowd did a good job of continuing to bring that energy, and that was just because of the way the game was going. Right, early on, they're going to be loud, they're going to be rowdy, but if you're able to put a drive together, the first drive, you're able to put a drive together and go out there, and kind of quiet the crowd. It seems like that kind of dies off as the day goes on. For us, we go, they stop us, we kick field goal, they score, right? Just all the series of events that happen. It's just like that. We knew that crowd wasn't going anywhere because they were now super invested in the game, and got that little glimmer of hope. And um, yeah, and then the rain comes and they get even more rowdy, and it just it was just the whole thing. And um, yeah, it makes everything just a little bit more difficult, because now you have to rely on truly just your understanding of, one, the playbook, where you're supposed to be, two, the signals or whatever that the guys on the perimeter have to be keyed into, and three, just the snap, right? And the defense is moving, and they're making stem calls, and their D line is shifting, and they're moving all over the place. And so just so many different things, sensory overload is what I call it. that just kind of leads to some mistakes being made.
I want to ask you about what they did defensively. If it was anything you hadn't seen before, the Vol Report. Please hit the like, subscribe, and share button. The Vol Report is brought to you by Bassey Lawn and Garden Man Alive. It is worth the drive, and it certainly is. Whether you're talking about industrial mowers, commercial mowers, or the residential blowers, trimmers, those mowers as well. So, did Georgia do anything that you didn't expect defensively?
No, nothing that we didn't expect. I think it was more of they incorporated a lot of, like I said earlier, a lot of stem calls, a lot of stems from the defensive front. So they're showing one thing on the front, and then right before the snap, they're moving a different formation or a different you know just a different defensive front that the blocking scheme may have to be different too or whatever, and just
So,
played real physical. Go ahead.
explain if you can what a stem call is to me.
Uh, Stem just means the D line moving pre snap, moving from one technique or one alignment to a different one. So a stem would be from, say it's a nose guard. A nose guard might stem from head up on the center to the A gap or the first gap to the left or the right of the center.
Okay, gotcha.
And then all the defensive linemen are also doing that. So essentially they're changing the look that the O line is getting and the calls that the O line has to make to for each different play. And that's something that we face all the time. That's something that we're used to, and so that I'm not saying that's necessarily the biggest deal, but then they're bringing some good heat with the linebackers, right? It seems like every play, they were trying to add on to whether it was a run or a pass, just trying to get extra pressure on the quarterback or just to eat up blocks and to cancel out gaps. And yeah, it just, I don't know. They had a good plan and they came in and they executed. And I think we would have been okay if we would have executed, but we just weren't able to.
I got some good news coming up for you. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to get to that, but first let me ask you as far as their secondary, because I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but Kirby Smart said after the game you can't be moving people around a lot. Does that mean that he essentially Georgia came into it from on the back end with a kind of keep it simple type of approach? Is that what he was referring to? Because I'm trying to read between the lines in his quotes.
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, I don't know what he meant, but I think, yeah, the way defenses try to prepare for us, at least, is have, calls that they can stay in, that they feel comfortable in. And with our tempo, like I don't think we pushed the tempo very much yesterday too, which kind of took a lot of the stress off of them. But um, you don't want to be in the back end, especially I've talked about this, like this family of defense, right? These Alabamas, the Floridas, the Georgias, um, are typically known for trying to be in the right call at all times, right? They're always trying to, whether the formation goes from a 3-by-1 on three receivers on one side and one receiver on the other side to 2-by-2, and we're motioning, shifting, whatever. They have a lot of checks and a lot of adjustments in their defense, and so I think you know to be successful against us, I think I mean teams think that they have to come in and simplify their game plan, and I guess that's what they did. And um, unfortunately, weren't able to take a lot of shots downfield just because of what was going on. On us as tight ends and just in the backfield and just our operation and just being in bad situations with the sticks, right? And so, um, obviously, you see people running free back there, but just not quite able to hit them every time.
How do you adjust goal wise? Because the goal has always been to get to Atlanta. They have Mississippi State left and Kentucky left. They'd have to lose
Yeah.
both of those games, so that's probably not going to happen.
Hmm.
How do you adjust goal wise now as a team?
I think,
And then
yeah, I
I've got my
mean,
and then I've got my good news that you're going to like. Go ahead.
okay, gotcha. I think that's just a conversation you sit down and you're like, hey, look, like, um, maybe we shift our eyes towards, obviously, because we can still hope and have hope that they lose and we end up in the SC championship, but at the same time, there's also bigger and better things out there for us. I think if we're able to finish off the season the right way and like you said, not let this one loss define us, and if we're able to go out and do what we're supposed to do the rest of the season, um, I think we'll like where we end up, and we'll still have an opportunity to go kind of make a name for ourselves this year and finish this off the right way.
So statistically, according to the the ESPN College Football Index. You
Yeah.
guys went into the game yesterday, had a 62% chance of making the college football playoff. Seems a little
Hmm.
low to me at number one, but that's factoring in the fact that you could lose a game or lose an SEC championship game.
Right.
So because of Alabama's loss and Clemson's loss, guess what that number is today?
I don't know, but it's probably higher.
Well, it's still 62%.
Oh,
You've
well.
lost a game and you have the exact same odds statistically, and I know that's not lining up and playing football, okay? But you've got
Right.
the exact same odds, and these aren't Vegas odds, these are the computers
Yeah.
predicting it of making it. So it may not be Atlanta, but the college football playoff is still out there. How enticing and exciting is that?
Yeah. And that's what I mean by just kind of resetting and focusing because bigger things are out there, right? The SEC championship was the goal from the beginning because, you win all those games, you win the games you need to win the SEC championship, you're going to be in the college football playoff and you're going to be competing for champions for the big championship, right? So, I think at the end of the day, that is the goal behind the goal, I guess, is to be considered in that conversation. And I think everybody kind of realized that that was a possibility. Obviously, pretty maybe not early in the season, but once we kind of started getting rolling. So yeah, just trying to set our eyes on that, and hopefully, the odds are in our favor, and we're able to go finish the season off and get there.
Was being number one at all on Tuesday night a distraction?
Um, I want to say it wasn't. I don't think it was, at least for the guys that are mature enough to understand, what that means. And it's pretty obvious that once you get that, everybody's kind of kind of gunning for you, and you're going to get everybody's best. And that was a situation we walked into yesterday. They were probably upset that they weren't number one, and we were the guys that they wanted to beat, and the whole crowd was in on it. And yeah, so that's just something that we're gonna have to adjust to and just get used to being the guys that everybody wants to beat. So
Here we are, and we record on Sunday morning. People could be watching this on Monday night, but we record on Sunday morning, and it feels like you've already put the loss behind you.
yeah, man, it hurts. I think you have to kind of sit in that hurt and let it hurt a little bit because if this game was easy, I think that the wins wouldn't be worth it, right? The everybody would do it, and the wins wouldn't mean as much. But you got to let a loss kind of sit there and sting a little bit. And as we get into the next week of preparation, I think that'll kind of come out, and a little bit of a little bit of frustration and just in the way we prepared for the next one. So yeah, you kind of have to put it behind you, but also let it sit there and let it fuel the fire a little bit.
Aside from physically, if you could play tomorrow, would you?
Play this next game tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just go.
if my body felt up to it, yeah, I could go out there and play right now.
I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is how hungry are you to get the loss out of your mind?
Yeah, that's it. That's all it is, man. And unfortunately, we got to wait another 6 days, but um, yeah, we'll be ready to go next time we get to step on that field for sure.
So, for the cynics that might say that this in some way exposed Tennessee, or that they're not as good as the hype, and that they could stumble down the stretch, how would you respond to that?
Man, watch the film, man. Watch the film. Um, Watch the film of the first 8 games. Watch the film of last night. Um, when we're able to operate and we're able to play, the style of football that we play, and we're all working together, then you can't argue with the ranked wins. You can't argue with the wins over good teams that everybody else was saying. Oh, just wait for X, wait for Y, wait for Z, like just wait for this game. And you run into one game, you face a little bit of adversity, and people start giving up, and people start all these naysayers have things to say, and they're entitled to their opinion, man. Like if you think that we fell off, then all right, man, you obviously haven't watched much football. But yeah, things happen, and we'll bounce back for sure.
What was Josh Heupel's message after the game? And maybe you guys have even had a meeting early Sunday morning. I don't know, but what
Yeah.
was his message?
Just that, like kind of like I mentioned earlier, um, with what we've done in the past, you're going to get everybody's best, and you can't afford to come out there and not perform your best every week. You can't afford to come out and, you know, he always says whether it starts fast or starts slow, whether the middle is good, the middle is bad. As long as we finish, we just want to finish strong and finish +1 every single game. And there was a period of time there that in that game when I feel like some people were like, oh wow, like they're not going to quit, right? Like they're going to try to come back. The defense got a couple of really big stops. We were able to go down and score. Unfortunately, they just like you just run out of time at some point, right? Like those moves have to be made much earlier in the game, and um, he's just talking about like you just can't come out, you can't come out and let things like this bug you, and it's time to move on and set your eyes on the next thing, right? It's all about Missouri now. When we come back in on Sunday, meet Monday, get ready for Missouri, and just go ahead and move on. But also mention how we should let this hurt because it should hurt for people that care. It does hurt. So yeah, that was kind of his message, I guess.
I can remember going way back that a linebacker at Tennessee said want another shot at them, and everybody kind of snickered at the time because they didn't think that Tennessee was going to be able to make the SEC championship and play that team again. And sure enough, they did. And I'm just curious, would you? How much would you like? And I'm not going to say would. How much would you like another shot at Georgia?
Yeah, to me, that comment that we'll get another chance at him. That's a very sore loser thing to say, in my
Okay.
opinion. I'm not going to say it because if we see him again, we see him again. But they beat us, man. Like they beat us, and the next time we play them, whatever. You know what I mean? But as of right now, it's not about that. It's about winning these next games and getting to the point where we will be able to play them again. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, we'll get them again, man. Like just wait. Like that's selfish and silly to me. So yeah.
That's a good point. Good, well phrased. Missouri. What do you know about them at this point? What are your thoughts on the Tigers and what they bring to the table?
Don't know much about him. Haven't watched any film on him, and we'll get into it a little bit later today. And I'll kind of watch some of the personnel films and just see kind of what their players bring to the table. And obviously, SEC team. I believe they've played some people pretty well, right? They played Georgia well, if I remember
Mhm.
correctly. I want to say played Kentucky well, maybe they've played some good games and they seem to have good players and a pretty good scheme and. Um, we've played them, obviously played them last year, so they kind of know what's up with our offense, and we'll be able to put some things in and go be able to attack their secondary and attack their front guys and run the ball and have a good day. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see as we get into the week.
Last thing, and I'll let you out of here. The Vol Report brought to you by Vassy Lawn and Garden with Jacob Warren. How certain are you that this team has the right mindset, the right maturity to put this loss behind them, move forward, and play your best?
I'm fully confident because I think that, you know, even though it hasn't come down to it yet, there's been games where, we could have let that rope slip, right? We could have, kind of let some people creep back in, and the way we were able to finish games, the way we were able to, you know, see things through to the end and kind of just rally together. Shows me that we're ready for this. We're ready to take on some adversity like this, and a little bit of adversity is good every once in a while. So our time came and we took the loss, and so now it's time to just bounce back. And I think guys are more than ready to do it.
Yep. Says a lot. Just for the record, Jacob texted me that he was ready to do our weekly visit before I even texted him. Says a lot about your character. I'm not surprised at all. It says a lot about your character because I know yesterday was a tough day. So uh, get over it and move forward. And I know you will. And again, a great chance to do incredible things, which you have already done. So, and instead of saying I hate it for you, because I do,
Right.
kudos for a great season at this point, and kudos for what's going to come forward because I believe you will be able to put it behind you and have a very, very successful season that will continue.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Jacob Warren, the Vol Report, brought to you by Vassy Lawn and Garden, man alive.